You arrive into the world screaming, which is impressive considering the air in Mordor isn't exactly designed for breathing. Your first inhale tastes like ash, smoke, and the faint metallic flavor of something that probably used to be a mountain before it exploded. The sky above you is permanently gray, the ground is black, and somewhere far away a volcano is doing what volcanoes do best, making sure the entire region looks like the end of the world on a particularly bad day. Welcome to Mordor. If you're born an orc, which, statistically speaking, you are, congratulations, you've just joined the least prestigious workforce in Middle-earth. Your job description is simple: march when told, fight when ordered, and try not to get stabbed by the enemy, your commanding officer, or the guy standing next to you in line. Orc society isn't big on things like personal growth, upward mobility, or dental care. What it does have is hierarchy, cruelty, and a deeply ingrained belief that if something goes wrong, it is probably your fault. Your childhood, assuming it can be called that, lasts approximately 15 minutes. There are no bedtime stories in Mordor, no lullabies, no warm kitchens filled with the smell of bread. What you get instead is training, if you can call being shouted at by a larger orc while he throws a spear in your direction training. The lesson is simple: duck faster next time. You grow quickly, partly because orcs mature fast, and partly because life expectancy encourages efficiency. By the time you're what passes for a teenager, you've already learned the 3 most important survival rules in Mordor. Rule 1, never look weak. Rule 2, never question orders. Rule 3, if something terrible happens, pretend you had nothing to do with it. You live in barracks carved into black rock, surrounded by thousands of other orcs who are just as tired, angry, and suspicious as you are. Meals consist of something that used to be meat at some point in history. Nobody asks too many questions about what animal it came from. Asking questions in Mordor is generally considered a career-limiting move. On the rare occasions you get time off, which mostly means you're not actively marching somewhere, you sit around with the other soldiers sharpening weapons and complaining about the management. The management in this case is a giant flaming eyeball on top of a tower. You've never actually seen him up close, of course. Nobody has, except the very important people, and you are not important people. You are what the Dark Lord would probably classify as expendable resources. The eye looks out across Mordor constantly, searching for enemies, traitors, and anything shiny enough to resemble a certain ring everyone is weirdly obsessed with. If the eye ever looks directly at you, it's generally a bad sign. By your early adulthood, you've settled into a routine that could generously be described as grim. Some days you're guarding the Black Gate, staring out across the wasteland and wondering why anyone would ever want to come here voluntarily. Other days you're marching across the plains with a war band, kicking up black dust, and hoping the next battle doesn't involve elves. You've heard about elves. Tall, fast, annoyingly graceful. They shoot arrows like the laws of physics personally owe them a favor. Fighting elves is generally considered bad for your long-term health. Men aren't much better. They have armor, discipline, and an irritating tendency to believe they're the heroes of the story, which from your perspective seems wildly unfair considering you're the one doing all the hard marching. Still, things could be worse. You have friends. Well, friends in the orc sense of the word, which mostly means people who haven't tried to stab you yet. There's Gorbag, who snores like a collapsing mine shaft, and Snaga, who insists that one day the war will end and everyone will get to go home. Nobody has the heart to tell him that Mordor is home. Years pass, campaigns come and go, you fight in skirmishes along the borders, chase roamers of spies through the mountains, and occasionally get sent south to remind the humans there why cooperating with the Dark Lord is generally considered good policy. You're not a hero, you're not even particularly brave, but you survive, which in Mordor is roughly equivalent to winning several prestigious awards. Eventually, the big war arrives. You know the one. The Dark Lord starts moving his armies in earnest. Thousands of orcs marching across the plains, banners whipping in the hot wind, drums pounding like the heartbeat of something enormous and angry. The commanders shout orders. The Nazgûl circle overhead, their shrieks slicing through the air like knives made of terror. You march because everyone marches. You fight because everyone fights. Battles in Mordor's wars are chaotic, loud, and extremely confusing. There's fire, screaming, arrows flying in every direction, and the constant suspicion that someone behind you is about to step on your foot or accidentally spear you in the back. You survive a few of these battles, which feels increasingly improbable. At one point, you're fairly certain you saw a dwarf headbutt someone hard enough to knock over 3 soldiers. At another point, an elf jumped off something tall, shot 5 arrows mid-air, and landed like gravity had been politely asked not to interfere. You decide you do not like elves. Then something strange starts happening. Rumors. Orcs are excellent rumor distributors because nobody trusts official information. Word spreads through the ranks that something is wrong. Patrols are disappearing. Strange lights are seen near the mountains. The Nazgul seem agitated. More importantly, the Eye is searching harder than ever. For a while, nobody knows why. Then one day, during what should have been a routine guard shift, the ground shakes. Not a small tremor, a deep world-shaking rumble that rolls across Mordor like thunder trapped underground. The sky turns red. The mountain, the big one, the one everyone pretends not to stare at, begins roaring like it's suddenly remembered it's a volcano. Mount Doom erupts. At first, you assume this is normal. Mordor has a lot of natural disasters, but this one is different. The shockwave tears across the plains, towers crumble, and the entire army suddenly realizes something has gone catastrophically wrong. Orders stop making sense. Commanders start shouting contradictory commands. The Nazgul scream once, a long, terrible sound, and then vanish. And then the Eye goes out. Not slowly, not gradually. One moment it is there, blazing across the sky like a second sun made entirely of hatred. The next moment, it's gone. You've lived your entire life under that gaze. It's been the background noise of existence, like gravity or misery. Without it, the silence feels enormous. Around you, orcs stop marching. Some stare at the sky. Some drop their weapons. Some immediately start fighting each other, which honestly feels more normal. The armies of men advance soon after. Without the Dark Lord holding everything together, Mordor's forces collapse faster than anyone expected. Orcs scatter, fortresses fall, commanders vanish. The great war that defined your entire life ends in the span of a few very confusing days. You survive again, mostly by running. Years later, which is surprising because you didn't expect to have years left, Mordor is quieter. The sky is still gray, the land is still broken, and Mount Doom still occasionally reminds everyone who's boss, but the endless marching has stopped. The banners are gone. You're older now, slower, missing a tooth or two you were fairly fond of. Sometimes you sit on a rock overlooking the plains and watch the wind move through the ash. You think about the strange little creatures who somehow snuck into Mordor and ended the entire war. You never saw them yourself, but the story spreads quickly. 2 hobbits, tiny, barely armed, and somehow responsible for the downfall of the most terrifying power in Middle-earth. You shake your head. All those armies, all those battles, all those years of misery, and it turns out the fate of the world was decided by 2 small guys walking into a volcano. Typical. Eventually, one winter morning, you wake up feeling unusually tired. You sit down by the edge of a ruined wall, meaning to rest for a minute. The gray sky stretches above you. Mount Doom rumbles softly in the distance. You close your eyes. Well, at least the Eye isn't watching anymore.